So you're scrolling along mindlessly, and suddenly someone pops up on your screen yapping away about the avoidant in your life. Listen here, 9 times out of 10, they are only referring to the dismissive avoidant. So if you yourself are or know somebody whom is a fearful avoidant, otherwise known as the disorganized attachment style, do not take the advice from those posts, because we're completely different from the dismissive avoidant. It drives me crazy because as soon as somebody hears avoidant, your initial reaction is to give more space. But the opposite is true with the fearful avoidant. The fearful avoidant wants to be loved. They want to be seen. They want to be cared for. They want to be so vulnerable with you, but they fear that you won't stay, that you're going to neglect them, that you're going to suddenly turn on them. I'm saying we because I happen to have the disorganized attachment style myself. We react to love in a fearful way, and we start bouncing back between how much it is that we choose to show ourselves to the world, to our partners, etc. And we hesitate in expressing our true selves because we never really knew consistent safety from our caregivers growing up. We may have been around a lot of substance abuse, for example, a lot of emotional dysregulation, people whom we were supposed to find safety in, we also found a lot of fear in. So expressing ourselves to a certain point can often have us be like a center of gravity for being shamed, for kind of being like the punching bag, if you will. Whereas the dismissive avoidant prefers to have their space because they've grown up in an environment where they feel like they have to do everything by themselves. The fearful avoidant doesn't want to do everything by themselves. They want to be loved even at their lowest. They want to have that kind of best friends. They just want to have the reassurance that you won't leave them the more that they bare their soul to you. And that's the difference here when we're looking at the advice, which people are accurately, I suppose, offering about the dismissive avoidant. But that's not what the fearful avoidant requires. So, where we would find, let's say, betrayal in things like the silent treatment and keeping your distance too far, right? Like not being fully truthful and open with us, not being willing to communicate, which, by the way, the fearful avoidant will happily take accountability and ownership and apologize for something, right? Whereas the dismissive avoidant is more likely to shut down and turn inward and just kind of call it quits and do it all themselves because they don't like the confrontation. The fearful avoidant also doesn't like the confrontation, but they're more willing to work it through because they just want that security through the highs and lows. They're the types that are like the literal ride or dies. But once we're truly feeling as though we were betrayed by a friend, by a partner, a loved one, a family member, and we choose to end that connection, the fearful avoidant will very seldom and rarely return back to those individuals. It's not to say that there isn't a potential for closure or having mature conversations, but there is far less of a likelihood of the fearful avoidant missing you so much that they're going to go out of their way and reconnect with you after X amount of weeks, like so many people claim the dismissive avoidant does, which statistically, yeah, they do show that they keep their distance up to a point and their level of independence doesn't perhaps maybe feel as fun anymore. They start thinking about the good times, and then the Phantom X phenomenon starts creeping in and all, right? But the fearful avoidant is so hurt by those actions, by that perceived level of betrayal, that even if, as I mentioned, there is opportunities for forgiveness, for having the conversations, because the fearful avoidant isn't one that necessarily fears that. But once that door is closed, it's closed. Very seldom again will they open up that door, especially if they're the ones that had decided to walk away and put an end to it, right? Like, So stop confusing the two, because your partner could be a fearful avoidant and you're giving them more space, when really what they require a lot more of is the reassurance, the compassion, just listening to them. We just want to feel as if we're understood. We don't want to be silenced anymore. We don't want to feel like we have to be tiptoeing and walking on eggshells all the time. We want someone whom is also willing to perhaps maybe withstand some of the emotional upheavals, because those with a disorganized attachment style, aka again the fearful avoidant, we don't really necessarily always know how to regulate our emotions, because we were never taught that. We were brought up in dysregulation and dysfunction, especially to an emotional and mental kind of degree, right? And we weren't comforted the way that we require to be in order for us to sustain appropriate amount of regulation, especially around people. So if you yourself are a fearful avoidant, definitely learn to spend some time with yourself, learn how it is to self-regulate, and become secure within yourself first and foremost. Also understand, as I myself am working more and more towards my level of security by healing a lot of my own wounding, I'm going to therapy, going to support groups and all of that. These are layers that I'm peeling into in myself, but I'm also spending a lot of time with myself, right? I'm also finding more comfort in discussing things that I had overcome with my community, so I can share my vulnerability but still have that level of control. And I mean, so far it's really been working quite well for me. Also, the level of vigilance is still quite high, so I use my discernment quite often when it comes to picking a suitable partner and such, but that just also maybe screams that I'm not fully secure enough yet, because I am very celibate and not interested in dating or anything. But if it happens, it happens. Anyways, point that I guess I'm trying to make here is you can start healing it. You can start feeling more secure in yourself. You can start feeling more confident and move away from those lower self-esteem. You can find community and people who really truly want to understand you and listen to your wisdom and your guidance as well, right? The fearful avoidant is very very wise beyond perhaps maybe their own comprehension of that. So speak on more of your experiences and understand that you're going to be not only healing yourself but other people along their way too. I don't know who needed to hear that, but it's definitely something that's been helping me myself. Continue to practice using your discernment, but nevertheless keep on finding security in vulnerability. But anyways, without me digressing any further, listen, this was my like really quick spiel on, I guess, the top of the dome kind of difference between the dismissive and the fearful avoidant. Please use your discernment, since we were on that topic, on understanding the difference thereof, especially if your partner is one that is a fearful avoidant, also known as a disorganized attachment style, or if they're in fact a dismissive avoidant, because you would approach them completely differently, y'all. Okay? So do yourself a favor. That's it from me. Thank you so much. Bye.